I'm going to actually, start things off. A couple of people asked me about this yesterday, and I thought I've covered this many times, but there was a question about Troy Dye, and he's there's no discipline of any kind. I don't know how this got out there. If a guy's disciplined, we'll announce it, and we'll make that known. And then by the same token, we don't talk about injuries and availability, so you could probably put two and two together on that one. And also, there's no other announcements to make at this time about any of those guys as far as, the length of certain guys being out. So,
Mark, do you find it difficult to coach against a friend? Have the handshakes the last couple of years been bittersweet, or you and Chris just it's a normal game for you guys?
I think when you're in this long enough, that happens. There's guys that pretty much on every staff to some degree. Some longer than others, some you like more than others. But no, I mean that's we're not preparing. If we were playing, if it was me versus him, that'd be a different story.
Coach, everyone said after the game, everyone involved said after the game that Dakota was still the quarterback. Has that changed at all? Is he still the guy, or is there competition going on, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, I mean, there's everywhere across the board. There's competition, and there's naturally, this got brought up yesterday too. Naturally, that position gets a lot of blame and a lot of credit when neither is warranted, and we're making adjustments everywhere.
So you guys said after the game though that he's still the quarterback. Is that still the statement today?
Yeah, I mean we're still competing.
Coach, if you go back to the recruitment of Brendan Schooler, what did you guys see in him that made you guys give him an offer?
He's big. He can run. He can hit. He's physical. For a guy that comes on the back end of a defense, came downhill, sideline to sideline, made a bunch of plays. A lot of times with ball skills. That's a rare combination for a high school kid. And then did a lot of stuff on offense and also on special teams. So a versatile guy.
Seems like this year's Washington team is maybe more explosive offensively. Is that simply just the return of John Ross from his injury, or are there other guys that have aided in that explosiveness?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference that they would probably say is, his health. He's a guy that, everybody recruited for a reason, and you see it. I mean, he's a fantastic player, phenomenal special teams player, both as a returner, pressure guy, and some of the punt stuff they do. And then the combination of tight ends, the combination of running backs that they have, there's a lot of poison to pick when you're watching them from a defensive standpoint.
How are you guys able to counter a team that is able to generate so much pressure in the backfield with just their front four? I mean, they blitz less than almost any other team in the country.
Yeah, no, that's just it. They do a phenomenal job with, you watch the Stanford game. There's times they're rushing two guys and they create issues. Three guys and get multiple sacks, and so that's their great weapon right now is they create that pressure with a 3-4 man rush. It's not always the same four guys, but it turns into a 4-man rush, and then keep that extra defender on the back end to help out. Those guys can really run. They're linebackers, they're secondary. Those guys are playing at an extremely high level, not only on defense but on special teams. They basically run the show on special teams, and so it's a tremendous challenge.
Looking at Washington, what's been the biggest development in Jake Browning's game from the last time you guys faced him?
I bet he would say, I mean, he's really improved across the board. I think he would say, having John Ross and the rest of those skill guys around him healthy is a big deal. That wasn't always the case last year. Multiple receivers that give you issues, multiple tight ends that give you issues, multiple tailbacks that they can deploy. So they're loaded and they're playing with a ton of confidence right now.
Obviously, the last couple of weeks haven't gone the way you guys would have liked them to. Talking to Arion after the game, he said that the team just needs to find something to play for in order to kind of restabilize. In your eyes, what do you guys still have left to play for? I mean, I know it's a long season ahead, but
yeah, it's absolutely a long season. There's a ton of those goals out there, whether it's team goals, all those things. But absolutely has to become personal, and we talk all the time about personal goals and why these guys do what they do. It's very difficult to do what they do on a daily basis, and you need that motivation, whatever, March 12th, to have a great day on March 12th, to know that that's going to affect your football season. And guys are learning the very hard way, slap you in the face way of a lot of these things right now. But yeah, it has to be a personal thing. Absolutely.
TJ Daniels shifted into the D tackle spot a couple games now. How has his development gone, and is that maybe a permanent move for you? Is it shown enough?
Probably, just depending. There's been some guys in and out there, availability wise, but and TJ's a guy that we just keep waiting to really come through and break through. But he's done some good things his last couple games, and hopefully that will continue.
Mark, for weeks you've said that you've had great weeks of practice. You've end the week with a spirited practice. Why hasn't that translated maybe into the game? Have you been able to diagnose it? I know that's a broad question, but
yeah, that's the psychologist hat that you're always kind of working with. I think sometimes, and particularly maybe in the Washington State game, we had multiple guys that you're kind of hoping something good happens or hoping something bad doesn't happen. And that's not what you want. You want to focus on your job and attack it, and carrying that confidence through and seeing it matter in a game situation. Again, for a defensive guy that hasn't had a ton of success and then get gashed, on a drive or something, something that cloud of doubt continues. And so that's as big a part of any right now, is believing in what they're doing, coaching them to be in position, to be sound, to play their tails off, and then see it happen.
Coach, Chris Peterson up in Washington said he wasn't going to talk specifically about Oregon. Are you guys specifically talking about Washington? Or I know Coach Greatwood was pretty adamant in saying, the streak wasn't going to end. Is that something that you keep a nameless, faceless opponent, or is it something you use as a little bit of extra give this week?
I think it's both. I mean, I think we're always, and that's something, again, we're learning as a team right now, is that faceless opponent mentality, and totally focusing on us, internalizing those things, and then again, week to week, if there's things that you can stoke that fire, that's impossible not to hear that noise, and that will never change.
And I know you said not talking much about Johnny, but I think it's fair to say he's probably not playing this Saturday. Who's the next guy that's next up, as you guys say, in that position for you?
Yeah, it's a competitive situation. Obviously, that getting that, whoever that next guy is, Daquan, AJ, Danny, Jimmy. I'm going to forget somebody here. Keith Sims. The linebacker. That rotation is ongoing.
How do you manage the stress or emotions of when you guys are doing things right? You can do nothing wrong, whereas now you lose a couple of games and people are calling, or fans are calling for wholesale changes throughout the whole program and everything. Mm-hmm. How does that kind of affect you guys emotionally, and how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the same, in terms of how you manage the guy, how guys react, because there's just a higher percentage of people, when things are great, they relax, or when things are not great, they start pointing fingers, there's something there. So I think that there, it's obviously a different result, and there's a little vibe that's different, but you're managing that. You have a little different conversation at home with your kids and what people are saying about you, and managing that. But unfortunately, that's the reality we live in.